Okay, as you can see, I've started working on this bumper here. It had some damage here, there, nicks all through the bumper. I sanded it down first with the DA 180 grit. This is what I use. This is standard DeWalt, and I actually used a flat piece of paper 180. Then I went back over it with 400 on the interface pad to smooth it out. I like to see this whiten up. Let me know I smooth it out as soon as possible. So I like the 180 first, then 400, then scuff. Before I even began to prime it, I want to get it as smooth as possible. Then I went ahead and took the liberty with a Scotch-Brite here pad, and I scuffed the whole bumper. You can see here, only came up so high, and this is part of my scuff here because I like to blend out the paint in case you have a color variance. You know, you don't want to go up too high with the sander or whatever you're using, because if it is a slight color variance, this is where you can do your blend at. So you don't want to break any unnecessary paint going up too high. Same thing here. The rest of this is going to be a scuff with this right here. I'm not going to come up too high. I don't want to break any unnecessary paint. Just in case I'm going to shade off with the paint, it's going to blend up right, and you don't want to bring the color to the body line if you can avoid it. Here, I didn't have that option because I had damage a little bit higher. This here is all scuff. Same thing here. You can blend out to the top without bringing the color all the way up. If you can avoid it, that's great. And like I said, I like to 400 first, because 400 grit paper, if you sand and smooth 400 grit, it'll show you things you may miss. See, some nicks and things here that I probably would have missed that it didn't stand up before when I was going over 180. So if you 400 the car first, sand it down smooth, it will highlight all extra damage that you may miss. Same thing here. I got this pretty much scuffed and sanded. It showed me some things here that I would have missed. And the last thing you want to do is start painting and clearing a bumper, and you find out you had existing damage that you missed. Okay, so you can see here, I filled in those little gashes there with a little body filler and some white acrylic 3M acrylic putty. Those weren't too deep, so this putty should fill them in nicely. And then I'm gonna sand this down here with some 180, then 400 again. I could have actually probably sanded them all the way out or dug them out, but again, remember, when you do that, you create extra work. If you use 180 first to sand it all the way out, then you have to do the steps. 80. If you sand them out with 80, then you have to do the steps 180, 400, I would say 600. Make sure it turns a light white. You have to take it down, because primer will lie to you. If you prime it too soon, before you feather it all the way down, then you think something is covered and it's not. Also, you don't want to try to dig it out with your DA or sander. You want to try to keep it as flat as possible, otherwise you'll create waves later. So remember, take each step depending on the grit of paper you're using. If you're using 80, take it down to 180, then take it down to 320 if you have that, or 400, and then possibly some 6. Get it smooth, clean it, then you prime it. See here on the side, this lower section here was sanded. This was scuffed. This is where I'm going to blend my paint. Not going to come up to the body line with paint just in case I have a shade variance. Same thing over here. Okay, so I got my first primer on here. I usually prime 2 to 3 times. On the final stage, sometimes it may be a good idea to do it wet. Also, keeping in mind, when you prime, you want to really keep the primer just to the damaged area. You don't want to go crazy with your primer gun. One reason is if you put primer in unnecessary spots, then you have to make extra paint, and it could make it difficult, it could be costly. But also, if you're trying to blend to a particular area and you get primer on everything, now you're ruining your blend because you got to go up to a body line or edge that you don't want to. So keep the primer at a minimum, just to the surface areas that actually have the damage. Prime 2 to 3 times if needed. The last time you take the primer down, you want to make sure that you see if you can possibly do it wet to get a smooth texture. Okay, so everything has been sanded, prepped, clean. Bulldog. I like to use the Bulldog because it lets me know reminds me of where I can blend it. I don't have to take the paint places without guessing. Fills in scratches, any light imperfections. Helps paint stick and stand up. Let's go make some paint. So this is the end game. It's my first coat of clear. Did a medium to wet. It's hot outside, so it's drying pretty quick. Let this flash up about 5 minutes because it's very hot. No more than 5 minutes because it's tacking up after 2-3 minutes. Go ahead and give it one more shine. Right now I'm using, I know this is not BASF. I'm a Dyamont BASF fan, but this is on PPG line, MC270 Omni, lay down real nice. Use a turbine, do not use a compressor. Turbines for the field have a lot more controlled spray, 80 to 90% on the paper. Very less overspray. AccuSpray guns, which I discontinued, but I do have a few personal Apollo 7500s that work real nice.